Hello, Kelly Saffron here. In this video, I will be showing how I made this light up card using Chibitronics and stamps from My Favorite Things. I am using a Misty Mini Stamp Positioning tool to lay out my stamps. Here I apply an anti-static powder because I want to emboss my card, and this powder prevents the embossing powder from sticking where I don't want it to. And I ink up the stamps using Versamark ink. This ink is sticky and stays sticky for a long time, so it is excellent when using embossing powder. Now I do end up pressing a bit too hard on the stamp and shaking the camera, but I want to ensure I have a good impression. I tilt it in the light because it is a bit hard to see. It is a clear ink, but I did get a good stamped image. If I didn't, I could ink it up and restamp it. That's the benefit of using that stamp tool. I keep my Hero Arts powder in a container because I use it frequently, and using this container is convenient for me. I hold the cardstock with these craft tweezers so I don't accidentally stick my finger in one of the stamped images and smear the powder. And I just tap off the excess. Now I preheated this heat tool. Otherwise, if I don't preheat it, I find it blows the powder off a bit. And preheating it also helps prevent warping the cardstock. And I just tilt it in the light to see that it's shiny and that I melted all the powder. I ended up going back and stamping a third heart where the tweezers were and embossing it as well. I colored the images using pencil crayons. I want the color to be opaque, so I first started with a layer of white pencil lightly colored in the owl, and then applied layers of color, blending them using the white pencil to fill in the tooth of the cardstock. The brush brushes off little crumbs of crayon that comes off when I press hard. If I use my hand to brush it off, I tend to smear the color. The white pencil also helped even out the color. The pink was a bit streaky. I cut out the hearts using an X-Acto knife, placed the card front on top of a piece of white cardstock and marked with X's through the hearts where I want the lights to be. And then the stencil, I drew out the shape of the little chibi lights and then used it as a straight edge to plan out my circuit. So that will be the negative, and then the bottom of the triangle will be the positive connection to the battery. And then I draw a little rectangle where the slider will go and cut that out with my X-Acto knife. So I first put down my positive circuit, and in retrospect, I should have first put down the negative circuit because the bottom of the battery is the negative connection. So I stick down the battery with some score tape and put the positive on top of the battery, and then realize I have to lift the battery to make the negative connection, but fortunately it came up easily. I tuck the tape through the slit using my X-Acto knife to poke it through, and I just wrap it around and stick it to the back so I make sure I have a good connection when I use the slider to complete the circuit. So to make the corners on your circuit, you just fold pull the tape back and fold it and then go forward again. And I smooth it out with a bone folder, it's not necessary. And then place the LED little chibi light stickers and use a bone folder to smooth down the connections. And I test the circuit with the tape to complete it. Here I am making the slider component, so I use 2 scraps of cardstock and fold them in half and then place some quick dry white glue on the fold. And I set that aside to dry. Recently I saw on a teammate's blog post adding another layer of copper tape on top of the lights helps make the circuit strong. And I did find doing this really helped my card work well. So here I am wrapping the tape around the slider component, and I learned how to make a slider card from my teammate Eco's excellent blog post. She does a video and explains it very well. I end up wrapping it around twice just to make sure the circuit will have a good connection. And then I made a pull tab using pink cardstock and a corner chomper on the top. And I adhere it using a strong adhesive, some score tape. And I filled it with a little while because I want to make sure that the pull tab has a great connection with the circuit. So I turn it to see where the tape looks closest to the top edge where I want it on that little folded slider piece. And then you just put that bottom folded piece through the slit on the circuit. And then you pull it flat on the other side. So you poke it through and fold it, flatten it out. And when you pull it, it lights up. So I colored some vellum with a red Copic marker and tape it to the back of the card front. I then apply a double layer of foam adhesive to attach the card front. The battery is fairly thick, so if you use a single layer, it tends to be lumpy. Sorry, my dog is looking out the window barking at the kids playing outside. So I only removed the backing from a couple pieces so I can move this around and figure out where I want to place it. And I turned on the lights to help me with placement. You can see I colored some of the owl's pupils with a black Sharpie. I found they showed up better that way. So once I have it where I want it, I can remove the backing from the rest of the foam adhesive. And I ended up having some of the white cardstock sticking out at the top, so I used my scissors to remove it. And there you have it. That's how I made the light up portion, and I adhered it to a card base. Thank you for watching.